There were a lot of questions about your daily routine. People love this. The morning routine, the daily routine. And while I have to believe that everybody's necessary routine is quite different from the next, if you wouldn't mind just giving us a sense of like the first couple hours of your day, what that typically looks like when you're like not traveling and you're settled into a place.
It's different depending on the place that I'm in, but typically it involves waking up, going out into the sun as naked as possible to start the day. I try to take slowly, wake up slowly. And probably within an hour of that, I'll leave the house and go for as long of a beach walk as possible. Or if I'm in a place where there's a gym several days a week, I'll go to the gym instead. But I'll do some activity, I would say about an hour after waking up. Sometimes it's an hour and a half, sometimes it's less, depending on the place I'm at. I also might do stretching before I go on the walk and do just several stretches on yoga mats on the floor or with foam rollers or balls or some different things. I don't start my day until those things are out of the way. I try to avoid any work-related anything. Now, that said, if a thought comes up that I'm excited about, I'll note it. I won't avoid thoughts, but I tend not to engage in any work until probably 11 o'clock. 11 a.m. would be the soonest, and some days not until 1 o'clock. And then I do focused work until maybe 6. And then I spend the rest of the night trying to wind down out of work mode.
And then what does your evening wind down look like in terms of the space that you're in or trying to create and your internal landscape?
Well, it's only red light. I'm usually wearing, from the time the sun sets, I'm wearing red glasses. I'm in a space with only red light. I'm 99% of the time home with my family. And we talk. I might watch wrestling or a documentary with red glasses on. We eat dinner together, or we eat dinner in shifts, depending on how it's working, but we're all together. And I find something to occupy my mind that gets me out of the workday. That said, sometimes the ideas still flow, and I'll note them. But I avoid any kind of a work phone call or anything that's stimulating or that will get me thinking about it. I aim for sunset, and then I'm usually in bed by 10 and fall asleep within 15 minutes. When it goes from the thing you love to the thing you do for work, it's an issue. And to get back to that, I do this because I love this more than anything. I do this not because I got a good review, not because I sold a lot of copies. I do this because this is what I do. It's what I've always wanted to do. And I'm going to continue doing it with the same head that I went into it in the first place, that allowed me to be successful in the first place. So it's helpful to remember what gets you there. And usually what gets you there is the first thing that gets snuffed out in success. When you're in the writing stage, there can be no other concerns other than what's the most interesting thing to me here now. That's all. And then when it's done and there are no more creative decisions to be made and the book is written and you have, it may not be the final version of the book, but where you know exactly what the book is, you've said what you want to say and you feel good about it. That would be the first time to think about, okay, what could a cover look like? What could the marketing look like? Who's the audience for this? if you start thinking who the audience is before you start writing, it's going to really muddy the water. One of the things I recommend in the book is like creating the equivalent of creating office hours, having a schedule to work where you say, I'm going to sit down for this. Could be 20 minutes, could be 3 hours, up to you what that window is, how you want to do it. But make a commitment, show up every day. And then there's no excuse, regardless of whether anything gets made during that window. You're not waiting for the right moment to start. You're starting, and you're doing it every day, and you're doing it at the same time every day, and you're building the habit of, I'm going to sit here every day, even if it's just to sit here and be bored. Something good will eventually come from that practice, whatever it is. You know, if you're inspired by an idea from 200 years ago, that's not on everyone's top of mind today. So it has a freshness that's different. Whereas if you make a song that sounds like the song that just played on the radio, yes, that's the current sound, but it's also, well, that was just on the radio. Why bother making one that sounds like that? That's one's already out. But we want to try every idea. We want to see where it leads, because you never know. You really never know what's going to work and what's not going to work. If someone says, I have an idea, I want to do this, and you hear the idea and it sounds bad, like when I imagine what's being said sounds bad, and like, okay, let's hear it. And then they demonstrate it and it's great. And that's an example of where the language of explaining things doesn't do it justice. One of the things I talk about in the book is always, make a model. Always don't talk about it. Show what it is that you're doing. Yes. Don't say the kind of article you want to write. Write the article, show me the article, then we talk about the article. And what's great about that also is it takes it out of the personal. If you have an idea, it's your idea. And then we could argue about your idea, and that's personal. Whereas once it's on paper, it's outside of you, and it's this thing that we're collaborating on together to make it be the best it could be. We're not talking about your idea now. We're talking about, is this sentence the best sentence it could be? Mm-hmm. That's not a slight against you. We're working together to make this sentence the best it could be. Sometimes it's not about the story. It's just about the way the words make you feel. I remember asking Neil Young about, if he knows what his songs mean. He said he has no idea. Yeah, I don't think that there's a right way to do anything. And I would never dictate to anyone else how to do anything. If someone asks, I would say, maybe this is how I would try it. But I would never assume that that's what's going to be best for them, because you can't know. There's a lot of talk about AI art now. Yeah. And that if all of the inputs into the AI are the same, which they will be from all the competing AIs, they'll all have the same database, that eventually, as they get better and better, and you put in the parameters of what you're looking for, they'll all spit out the same answer. Now, and that's technically the right answer. Now, if you were going to engage with a subject and another writer was going to engage with a subject and you were to both write about it, the chances of those articles being similar, or books being similar, the subject will be the same, but the perspective is completely different. If you want to live in a creative way, which will benefit everything in your life, be a better person in your family, be a better, if you're starting a new business, do a better job of starting a new business. It's all the same. I don't really know anything about music. It's more a way of looking at the world and wanting it to be the best it could possibly be, and doing whatever it takes to be the best it could possibly be, and being true to knowing that no one else knows. I'm not saying I know, but that everyone's idea is as valuable as mine. We're all creators. From the beginning, I never thought any of the things that I'm doing were possible or realistic. And I just did things out of the love of them, thinking I would have real jobs. And, the thing that my passion would be my hobby, and I'd have a job to support my hobby.
Yeah.
And it just magically turned out different than that without me knowing it was possible. The stars line up at certain times for certain things to happen, and they happen. And sometimes you can make something great and it doesn't connect for whatever reason. I found this out from making a lot of stuff. Like sometimes you make two things that you think are the two best things you've ever made, and one of them connects with the world and one of them doesn't. And it might not have anything to do with what's in the art. It might have to do with, it came out the same day as this other thing came out, and that got in the way. Or there was a bigger story at the time, or there was some other, who knows? Or it's not it's not in the cards for that person to have that success. It's like there's so much to it that we don't understand.
Yeah.
All we can do is make something good and put it out and hope for the best. And that's all there is. We never know why does something work? Even if you make a piece of art, you might, and it works, you may not know why. You can't second guess your own taste for what someone else is going to like. It won't be good.
Right.
We're not smart enough to know what someone else is going to like. To make something, well, I don't really like it, but I think this group of people like it. It's a bad way to play the game of music or art. You have to do what's personal to you, take it as far as you could go, really push the boundaries, and people will resonate with it if they're supposed to resonate with it. We really are talking about magic. We're talking about like the universe conspiring on our behalf if we let it. And to be in this flow of catching these waves that anyone can catch if you're trying to catch it, you're open to it, you see it coming, you take off on every chance you get, and sometimes the ride happens, and it's remarkable. It's remarkable how it happens. And it doesn't come from, it's not preconceived, it's not an idea, it's through the doing. These things that want to be, that the universe wants to happen now, comes through us. And if we don't do it, maybe someone else will do it. Have you ever had that experience where you have an idea for something and you don't do it, and then 6 months later you see that someone else has done it? It's not because they took your idea. It's that it's time for that. And you can act on it or not. And if you see, and the artists, the best artists are the ones who have the best antenna for this material that's available. It's coming through. The best comedians see the best jokes. They see them coming. We all live in the same world. The way you see it, you have the best joke because you see it best. And one of the reasons I believe that you can see it best is because you don't believe what the structure around you assumes to be the case. Because what collaborating is about is we're always collaborating at all times with the universe. That's how it works. Like, we're taking in information, we're vibing on it. In the past, when someone would recommend something to me, it sounded like it wasn't for me. It's like, oh, okay. Now, if more than one person recommends something to me that sounds bad, I always check it out. My experience is when you are open and looking for these clues in the world, they're happening all the time, and they're happening often right when you need them. I don't look at the outside very much. I look inward and try to focus on, what do I feel? What am I seeing? In the hopes that by sharing what's going on in me, it maybe resonates with someone else. I can't predict what someone else would like. And I don't think anybody can. So if I'm authentically true to myself, that's the best chance of someone else liking something. In a sea of information, the more yours is personal, the more it's not like hers or his or theirs. It's yours.
Yeah.
There are these different points of view around us. If we're all thinking the same thing, it's boring. Why would we make anything if everyone thinks the same thing? What makes us interesting are the differences. And even the imperfections. The imperfections are what makes us humans, what makes us what we are. As we get new information, we have to evolve. How can we live in an old belief? If you believe the same thing that you believed 20 years ago about everything, I don't know that you're living. If I like it, that doesn't mean anything. That's what people think. It's like, just because I like it, that doesn't give it any value. It's like, as an artist, if you like it, that's all of the value. That's the success comes when you say, I like this enough for other people to see it. Not other people like it, so it's successful. That doesn't mean anything, because that's other people liking it is out of your control. All that's in your control is making the thing to the best of your ability. I talk about it, usually the way I talk about it is greatness. And that's the way I thought of it my whole life was, my interest is in making something great. Greatness, lasting greatness, timeless. And I came to realize recently, it's all an offering to God. It's a higher vibration. We're making the best we can make to the best of our ability out of love and devotion. That's what it is. And there is no, I'm changing it for someone else, because it can't be better than this devotional act that we're doing. There is no higher form. Most of the artists I work with don't read any criticism or reviews of their work, good or bad. Most. Some do. And I would say the ones who are the strongest in who they are can even read a terrible review and laugh at it. And that makes sense, because when someone gives you criticism, it's telling you as much about who they are as what you've made. It's like we make things and then we make it with one through our filter, our perspective. And then you receive it through your filter with your perspective. So even if we both like it, we probably don't like it the same way for the same reasons. We all have our own relationship to it. Everyone has their own relationship to it. So any of these metrics of which is better, like the idea of the Oscars or the Grammys, where we're saying which album is better than another, it doesn't make any sense to me, because it's always apples and oranges. The only people who we can honestly compete with is ourselves. It's like, is this the best I can make today? Have I gone further than I've gone before? That's all we can do. That's the only competition that makes sense, is continuing to evolve and push ourselves artistically and not get complacent, especially in success. It's easy to get complacent once something works. It's like, I'll just keep doing more of that. It ends up maybe one more time you can get away with it, but once 3 are similar, it stops being interesting. If you need to have a job to support yourself, that's great. That's a noble thing to do. And follow your dreams. But I'm not saying they're one thing. Yes. They don't have to be one thing. And don't let following your dreams undermine your ability to support yourself. It could actually do the opposite. If you decide, I want to be a comedian and I'm putting all my eggs in the comedian basket and I'm going to be a comedian, the pressure of having to support yourself will change you as a comedian, not for the better. There are levels of wisdom that we don't know. We don't understand. So when you have an intuition to take the stairs instead of the elevator, or I always go home this way, but today for some reason I feel like going this other way.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm going to cross the street and walk on that side of the street. Whatever it is, whatever little intuitions in your body that come, listen to them. See what happens. Be open to, there's more going on than we know. Yeah. There's a lot more than our conscious mind can pick up going on. The wisest thing we can do is know enough to know we don't know.
Yeah.
If you start from maybe that's true, it could work, who knows?
Yeah.
Not hold anything so firm as this is the way it is. Yeah. I know how it is. Anytime you know how it is, your world just got a lot smaller.
Yeah.
Tiny.